All right. Thank you, David, for participating, helping out with the daily dose of the gospel.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, as I've shared with you, this is just kind of just a word of encouragement to keep people grounded in Jesus. And just I've been thinking about just having different people be able to give from their perspective. And as I kind of shared with you on the phone the other day, knowing that you just graduated from NYU this past year and have started a new position at the Cato Institute. But I just wanted to ask you just a couple of questions, just, what was life like as you were just starting kind of your career and your vocation here? What was life like before this coronavirus hit? And yeah.
Yeah, life in the past couple months has been starting to settle down, but like a little longer term, past 12 months has been really crazy. I graduated from college and then I spent about 5 months in New York, living there, just like kind of working, just trying to scrape by, wait for real opportunities in my field and really what I wanted to do. And then the end of October was when I found the opportunity at my current job at the Cato Institute, a think tank. And so I moved there very short notice. Started working there end of October, and it's been great. There's been a lot of adjustments, but a lot of blessings in my life. As dynamic as it is, I think it's a lot of good changes, and some definitely the place I'm in right now is somewhere where I would have been happy to see myself. While I was in college, I'd be happy to know that it turned out the way it did. So right now things are great. I'm in Maine right now, quarantining, but I've been living in DC or in the DC area. Technically, I live in Maryland, but adjusting well. I've got good friends, a good church down there, and so it's been really nice.
Cool. That's awesome, man. No, thanks for sharing. Actually, let me grab, I got the wrong set of questions here. Hold on a second.
No problem.
Yeah. So what's been the hardest thing about some of these, obviously these pretty massive changes that everybody's facing right now? And I know everyone's affected by this, but what's been the hardest thing for you in terms of making any adjustments?
For me, I think it's just been kind of the same thing that's been challenging me for the past, like more the past month, is that there have been so many changes, and at such a constant rate for me personally, that it's been difficult to kind of build and maintain healthy habits and routines for myself, and just in my spiritual life, but also just normal habits and physically, mentally, just to kind of get a routine going where I'm like living a comfortable, normal adult life and getting settled in a lot of different ways. And so that, for me, the coronavirus and the quarantine is another curveball. Personally, I've already been kind of adjusting, so it might not be like as big an adjustment for me, especially because my job, luckily, is like pretty easy to do remotely. But I'd say, yeah, building routine, having discipline, having good habits personally.
Cool. Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. Um, and on the flip side, what has been maybe the best thing or something positive that you've experienced, because of these, again, massive changes?
I've gotten to just see and do a lot of new things, and I've been working at a job that's really kind of my dream job, in the think tank world at Cato, and that for me is something that like I wanted to do all throughout college, or at least be in a type of role like that. And I feel like living on my own and just kind of just having my own life is going like in a really good direction, where like I know I have solid friends, and I have a solid church and the church family at Sea Road as well. So I feel like I have a lot of support, and that's shown in like, especially as things are changing. My friends and my church families, a lot of people have been there for me, during this time. But then as things have been changing in my life as a whole, and that's been really encouraging, and that's helped me stay connected to God as well. Um, it'd be kind of difficult to without any support, to stay connected to the gospel as well. But I think that's really been one source of strength for me is other people and their support and kind of all the changes that I've been going through.
Cool. Awesome, man. No, thanks for sharing. Um, and how has your faith helped you? Obviously, in the midst of this, I know you're just talking about staying connected to the gospel and being supported through friends and family and community. But how has your faith especially helped you make the adjustments necessary to really what we're all going through?
Now more than ever, it's knowing that Jesus is a constant. Um, and it's one thing in like, I'm sure as people kind of settle into routines, and it's a different thing, that they might need to be inspired. But right now for me, so much is happening that, I kind of feel buffeted at certain points. And for me, I think Jesus in the gospel is an anchor for me. And it's something that makes all the worldly things I'm going through seem lighter, easier to deal with. It gives a lot of perspective because things are coming at me from a lot of different directions. So it's good that I feel like the gospel gives me a clear indication of where to turn, to just my default at this point. And I've actually had to learn this from experience, like at certain points where it's been difficult, is just to reach out more to Jesus and know that like he doesn't change, and that there's always that starting point or that anchor that I can turn to.
That's awesome. No, thanks for sharing. That's great. Um, and this the last question I wanted to ask, as I kind of started this, just saying this is kind of a daily dose of the gospel, just to, again, keep people encouraged. And is there a verse or a passage or something that's been especially helpful from the Bible that's helped you in this time, and something that maybe you'd say is a word of encouragement to others?
In the past year or so, it's been a lot of different Psalms at different points, good and bad, where I just feel like now more than ever, I can kind of identify with different psalmists who are using those words to express feelings and, in the context of whatever they're going through, in each different psalm. And like when I was having a really difficult time, kind of shortly before I got the opportunity in October and moved to DC. But at that point, it was Psalm 13 largely, which is more of a psalm of like, I guess, lament, and also, but just like really crying out and saying like, God, I'll wait for you. Just like show me what to do. That was kind of the sentiment that I was expressing, and but then, expressing love for God, expressing the need for God, is something that I've connected with more recently. And then now with the current situation going on, I think one that's been particularly impactful is Psalm 34. And I think probably the best known verse from that psalm is "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is he who takes refuge in him." Which, considering like we're literally all taking refuge right now, like quarantining, we're in this isolated space, but that while we're taking physical refuge in our homes and in spaces distant from other people, we have the spiritual refuge as well. That's consistent for all of us, as we're all going through the same kind of changes together, which is the gospel, and which is God. And I think that's been a really important one to me. And the entire psalm as well just has expresses a lot of things that I felt lately, is a really succinct way of kind of describing what a relationship with God is, that you seek the Lord and he answers you and he delivers you from your fears. And that's been particularly impactful to me, I guess, lately.
That's awesome. Very encouraging. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And again, just thank you so much for your time too. Just you've been such an encouragement, I know, to me and to C-Road. Just been so cool, and it's been a privilege just watching you grow up as well, and just becoming the man that you are today. And just excited for the future that you have. And so really grateful for this opportunity. So yeah, thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was
Awesome.